Well, let's do a quick roll call. Let's do I'll just do it sort of in order of how I see. So Matt Montgomery representing business, Stacy
Stacy May, Bluegrass Workforce Area.
and Jennifer
Jennifer Hayes, direct service provider.
and Michelle.
Sheldines representing business with Cherry Becker now instead of MCM.
And Hannah.
So I'm here. Camera's off today, sorry.
No worries. And then in the room, if you guys want to just go kind of left to right. Um,
Over there.
My book is Robin Richmond, Workforce Administrative Assistant.
Michael Bushman, Bluegrass Ad.
Mike Riley, Bluegrass Ad. Colin Mosley, Workforce Accountant for the ad.
John Horty, Amtech.
Roland LeFacker here.
Tiffany Reeves, Bluegrass. That's got it.
okay, that's good. I was like, the cameras keep swinging. I wasn't quite sure. Oh, good. No. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Next on our agenda then is to approve the minutes from the May and then both the June meetings. And I think we can do that in one motion unless there's an argument about one of them that we need to go through. But any?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, John. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And since that's all of us, that's approved. All right, Colin, the meat of the discussion. You want to dig into the presentation for July?
Sure. So for July 2023, we expended in total about $130,000. So in total on our budget, we were at about 6% expended on our year-over-year budget. Admin was at 5% as compared with 11% last year. Our adult expenditures was at 5% as compared with 11 last year, and that as well. Dislocated worker, we were at 4% expended, and that's compared with 7% in the prior year. Our youth was at 7% expended compared with 8 in the prior year. And then we were at 4% expended on our work experience requirement for the youth funds.
There's Dolly, she's made it.
Hey, Dolly. And
My apologies, everyone. Thank you for understanding. We're here with electricity's going in and out, so if I lose you guys, I'll hop back on.
I totally get it. All right. So I don't have any questions on the July budget. I mean, everything going okay from the state allocating the funds and getting you the what you need to kind of keep going, right? Because I think they do something around now, and then they do something. They give you more money in October. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. We're currently waiting for final acknowledgement of the total funds available to us in the adult and dislocated worker grants. Last day I had was at the end of last week. They said that they finally got some type of an approval, and they would get back to us on what their calculations come out to on that. So
Okay.
the application for me to actually get the NFA from them on that is pending. It's just waiting on them to send us the final number.
Okay. But just no issue with cash flow or anything else. I mean, from what you're receiving or what has to go out the door.
No, not that I'm seeing. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Any questions about the July budget or anything else you guys want to dig into?
Just clarification, our percentages of is based on the current cash we have, right?
Percentages
just
based
based on
on
budget?
what our budget total amount.
Okay.
Yes, and that is a function of the cash that we had on hand. As we'll see later in the updated budget, we've got a more updated carryover amount that we're bringing from FY '23 into '24.
Okay, so our percentages of 5%, the different percentages are based on basically the same amount we had last year versus this year.
No, we've changed that number, so whatever it was last year, 1.9 million was the total budget amount. Our percentages was based on that budget. This is based off of the 3.3 or so that we budgeted for this year.
Okay.
So
Percentage based on current, I got you. Good go.
Yeah. On the chart though, would it be possible for you for at least for August? I mean, you don't need to go backwards, but to show the forecast as a bar or a part of the line here?
so yes, I can. Yeah.
Because I think we only have forecast for July, right? And you're showing actuals for July and then what it was in 2023. But it'd be helpful just to kind of see the forecast out at least for the rest of the.
Yeah, I apologize for that, Matt. So basically what I had double checked what that forecast would be. So like basically to fully expend our budget, we would spend about 220,000 in every month. This month we were at 130 or so. So we were well below what our average to fully cover out our budget for the year. That did not make it into my report, but I will make sure that gets into all future reports.
Yeah. I mean, I think so early, we're relatively confident that we can course correct. I guess you guys proved that pretty well last year, right? If we start to go over, but yeah, no, thank you. That's just a really helpful line to show that we're trending where we need to go.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions on the July report? Not, can I get a motion to approve?
Dolly's waving her hand.
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you, Dolly. And then a
Take
second?
Dolly's second. Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Michelle. All right, next on the agenda then is the updated budget for 24.
All right. So the updated budget for this one, I basically just updated the carryover to actual based on what June final was. And then also in the far right column, I updated the fiscal year 23 numbers to what was reported for June of 23. So that was projected the last budget we presented. So that's the actual on the far right there. The other two items that changed were the program delivery costs and the one-stop operator costs. That was the budget updated by Equus, Kathy, Joe, Jennifer, sent back to us. So again, if you look at the budget in the second to last columns, that 1,486,000 for the program delivery plus the one-stop operator cost of 90,000. Those total to 1,576,242, which is the exact same amount that we presented before. So as we discussed, the dollar amount did not change at all, just the specific line items based on what they thought they were going to expend throughout the year. That's always been provided by the direct service provider. So before we didn't have direct allocations and didn't have to get with them to get their line items. So as we just discussed before, the previous budget was basically an estimation from the ad. So obviously this has now been updated with the budget line items from Equus. The one thing I will note, again, this was just an update because we didn't want to change any of our original operating costs. If you look at the youth column, so at the bottom now, so with this new change in budget, if we're looking at everything, we have our total allocations, our estimates plus our carryover totaling 985,000. But if you look at the new budget now, 1,016,000 for youth, that will put us over if we kept everything the same. So I'm proposing now that we, you know, if it's all right with the board here and the staff, that I propose that we change kind of our allocations and our operating as well. Or maybe get with Jennifer and Equus. Obviously they're going off of what they see, that what they, you know, will expend. So we have more control to change our spending internally than they probably do, I think, at the Career Center. So I wanted to make note of that our numbers didn't change, but if you see that, we're over by about 30,000 based on our current budgeting. I will also note that we do get our allocation for youth. So potentially, we, you know, I'm just giving you options here. Potentially, we could do nothing because youth will become available in April of 2024. So that's a whole new youth allocation that we'll be able to use and spend of about 900,000. So that is another option. But again, I want to bring that to note to you all if you want me to go ahead and change our internal budget that we, you know, set in June. Does that make sense?
No, it makes. I mean, my immediate reaction is, you know, when we show that we've got a anticipated deficit, that just we need to have the talking points around it to say that that's ultimately not going to be a deficit. I mean, I kind of hate to see a deficit in a budget, but I get
Right.
it. Um, and I think that by, you know, when we look at the $30,000 as a percentage of the 1.16 million, I may not be calculating it based on the right number, but that is not enough that's going to challenge our requirement to have a certain allocation, right? That we have to do around youth activities or any of the other legal requirements.
Right.
So yeah,
And youth is
it
also
doesn't seem to
unique in
be.
that, oh, sorry.
No, I was
I
gonna
was
say
gonna,
it just doesn't seem to be a large problem, right? It looks like it's about, you know, 3.5% of our over budget, or we're gonna be about 3.5% or so over budget, just quick math in my head. But
yeah.
and yeah, I mean I'm open to any recommendations there.
And the unique
Michael,
thing with youth is that, oh, okay, sorry.
Michael,
Yeah,
um, we were heavy allocating youth funds back when we were operating on youth only for those 3 months. So we can start allocating more toward DW and adult and probably impact that number on our end very easily.
sure. The one thing I was gonna say is youth is unique, and again, as I kind of said, that's the only grant that they don't follow the fiscal year calendar. Dislocated worker and adult, that would be an issue, obviously. We're not gonna get any other funds, so if you're over, you're over. And that's why you know, the admin, adult, dislocated worker columns, that's pretty much a hard line, do not cross type thing. Youth, again, is unique in that we get those funds in April of the prior fiscal year. So that's why youth, you know, again, like you were saying, Matt, I know it's unique. It's kind of uncomfortable to see a deficit budgeted in, and that's why I want to get your opinion. If you want me to go ahead and change our numbers internally, or as Jennifer said, maybe we could even, you know, do some allocations on their end. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there that, you know, because how I presented before was that we weren't going to touch anything on our end. We were just going to get the new budget updated from Equus. So just wanted to
And if
point
I
that
read
out.
that back to you, though, I mean, I think what you're saying is you in April of 2023, you received 900K or whatever that is to kind of go work through. And
Right.
so you've got the money, and in April 2024, I mean, unless something crazy happens, you anticipate those funds. But even if you were not to get those funds in April, that still would leave you May and June where you could course correct, you know, like if
Correct.
so it's not a concern. I mean, my
Okay.
recommendation, if you think that this is representative of what you're doing, is just if you could somehow put an asterisk next to that number with an explanation down below, so that as we talk about that this is anticipated, you know, talk about the April timeframe, and that, you know, if for whatever reason there is some change where you don't get that money, you know, you're not at a 30, you're at a more than 30K run rate per month. And so missing May and June for those activities, or even just June, would course correct. Now, that's all fine. And I think what Jennifer said is helpful as well, that we could also anticipate adjusting more into adult or dislocated worker, if that makes more sense. And I'm blanking out. We can move money from adult to dislocated worker, worker to or dislocated worker to adult, right? We can't move things into youth.
Correct.
Yeah. So maybe we don't want to allocate things away from youth yet. But we might make that decision later in the year. It's just to maintain our flexibility.
And I think one thing that's going to impact that we're not seeing just yet is because our staff were operating out of youth funds totally during those few months. And just mid-July is when they started allocating in adult funds. And so now instead of having youth case managers and adult case managers, we have case managers who cover both funding streams. So we didn't even start charging adult funding until mid-July. So I think that we're going to see that start to turn around just by default based on how we're operating.
So what you're essentially saying is, as we've tried to calculate the budget based on extrapolation of the end of last year, it's not really representative of what we're doing because you were putting everything against youth. Is that?
If that's the case, if it's not really representative of what's going to happen, I would suggest adjusting the budget to be more close to what's going to happen, unless I'm misunderstanding. If that's possible.
Yeah, our budget from Equus has already been adjusted for that, Michelle, but we have a separate budget, but our budget reflects accurately about how we're going to start to use adult versus youth.
Right, our operating costs, we again, like you said, we did it based on what we know we're gonna do this year, not history of the past mess of the fiscal year we had last year. So, we did go ahead and budget based on what we know we're gonna get, and how we're gonna spend our funds, so.
Okay.
But again, that's something that we can alter, we can, course correct if we need to again, and that's, I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there that, we can adjust, I'm gonna put it before the board, this committee first before adjusting, because we presented before that we were just gonna present, or, just change the numbers given by Equus. That was the only thing that we were gonna update, so, if there's something else that we wanna change or whatever, we're obviously open to do whatever we need to do.
I guess I'm confused. If we based it on the funds or the information given from Equus, but
The program delivery once.
what came from Equus?
Yes. The
Was
bottom two
using-
sections, the program delivery.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was using kind of a altered method because of where we were.
Yes, our one that we presented June 5th, that was based on our percentages. And that was, internally. We always get the budget line items broken down by Equus, direct service providers. That's what this new updated budget was for 823.
But has Equus already changed this budget?
Yes, we've already submitted our updated budget.
So can we use those numbers?
That'll give you a small picture, so that'll give you the operational costs, and then Michael could tack his numbers in there. But Michael could probably answer that better.
I mean, if we updated to the updated numbers that Equus has, would that be more reflective of what we think is going to happen?
I guess we're asking for.
So Michelle, so what I'm getting at is, what I'm hearing is, so you're asking, just to be clear, the program delivery and one-stop operator costs was submitted recently by Equus. That's how they think it's gonna run out this year. That's how they're planning to spend it. Our operating costs at the top is what we submitted at the last finance committee. That's the only thing that stays the same compared to that budget. So
I guess my question is that program cost that we got from Equus, since they gave it to us, have they then changed it?
Oh, no.
I thought that
was-
Jennifer was saying yes. If that's not true, then I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I think she was suggesting that they could make an adjustment if absolutely necessary on the youth, but
I think Jennifer,
No, so every year when the ad gives us numbers, Michelle, like estimates of funding buckets for the year, we make our own Equus budget for the
Mhm.
operational cost. And that gets submitted to Michael and Colin, and then they review it and approve it, and then it gets lumped into their budget also. So everything's already been submitted, and on our Equus budget, we're not showing that we're trending over on any funding streams. We're right on track.
Yeah, and it's pretty tiny, I think, for the one-stop operator cost, right? If there, and then the delivery cost. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. As I think about this, my reaction is, team, if we could have a budget that doesn't show a deficit, even though we know it's not going to be, let's try to do that. So if we know that means that we're going to have to go reallocate from some other area, and we're allowed to reallocate from that other area, let's go ahead and reflect it on the budget, and that'll just reduce the questions, right? I mean, it's not going to limit us, right, at all if we make that,
Right.
if we zero that out. And again, it's a small number, but I mean, you could already just tell from this amount of questions that it'll be interesting as we take this forward to the board and the Leos, that somebody's going to look at that deficit, and you'll spend more time explaining that than it's probably worth.
Right.
So, I mean, because I don't think anybody here is worried that we're going to be, over budget. I don't think anybody here is really scared that, you guys can't course correct correctly. You've already proven that, right? It's all really good, but let's just, let's try to make that, that we're going to hit that right on, and then we can exceed expectations later in the year.
So, Michael, question for you. So, were you bringing up that if we adjusted something in our allocation, so like when we bill time or we pay for certain invoices, we bill 40% this, 7% that? Were you suggesting we need maybe a slightly different standard to adjust?
So as I was saying, is it would be a focused effort to make sure that, staff is spending more time on different areas, whether it be designated worker or adult. That's something that, again, as part of when we review salaries and whatnot throughout the month or the pay period, that, we ensure that they're booking their time to what they worked on. One of the things that, we project our salaries based on the work that we anticipate coming in. That's kind of how we split our salaries up here too, the staff time. So that was something I was kind of suggesting that maybe we could adjust, is we ensure a focused effort on different programs, designated worker, adult versus youth, to make sure that time doesn't go over.
That if that's the best way to do it, that sounds good. Another, like, argue this point too. If you're going to get the money in April and it's valid for this activity, can you reflect that money in April? I mean,
we can.
to get it April.
That's just one of those bloody things. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, I was just saying, we definitely can. That we've always received. This is how they run. The calendar for the youth grant is April through June is how they run it. It's always been historically that way. We've never reflected, just because we try to not use those funds beforehand. We do want to try to treat all funds as a fiscal year, even though it is available to us in April. We try not to touch those funds until the next fiscal year in July, just to make it, that way we can budget a full fiscal year. It's cleaner. And that's kind of why we've always budgeted that way, and we've never reflected those funds available to us. And that's kind of, it gets even a little more difficult trying to explain to the board, we do technically have these funds available, but they're seen as a calendar or a fiscal year by the state as well. So, I don't know. I think it may be more complicated if we do try to include that. I think it'd be easier personally to adjust the budget and just make sure there's not a deficit on there.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, because just, again, quick math in my head, it's roughly, you're going to get about 180K a month, roughly, a little bit more, right? So 160K. So I mean, you're still from a cash flow perspective, going to have 130K more than you need based on this. But yeah, if you could reallocate at the operating cost level, just to kind of zero that out, um, it'll save, I guess, just a lot of questions and discussions. And I'm
Sure.
sure everybody's just hypersensitive on the budget right now, so that just like let's avoid whatever questions we can.
Right. Yeah, and so, kind of Jennifer was saying, they get their budget from us, so they receive our old allocations, based on our estimated carryover. So obviously on their end, they don't have the updated carryover when they submitted their budget that had to be, submitted to their staff or whatever, so that's where that overages were, I just want to kind of touch on that and explain kind of what I was thinking and what we were doing, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I appreciate the transparency, and I mean, you guys are doing a great job. I just, our next meeting is the big joint Leo meeting, and those
Right.
meetings tend to get some momentum in them if they people start asking questions. So let's just try to eliminate where we know there's going to be some friction. With that said, let's assume that we're going to go do that, and we'll make the motion that we the right of motion here, whether that's to we probably need to review it again. I'm guessing that we would want to set something up like a week from now, maybe potentially to kind of just have a special called meeting to kind of sign it off, or I don't know if we can approve this tentatively with that change.
I got an idea that may save us a little bit of time in another meeting. It'll take about 5 minutes for Michael to adjust this. What if we kind of table this for about 5 seconds and go on to the open discussion and give him about 5 minutes to run upstairs and make that adjustment, and then he can have a new budget for us. That way you can vote on the approved reallocated budget today, and that way we don't have to reconvene in a week.
Yeah, as long as he has to take the stairs and not the elevator, and we make it a good exercise.
He always takes the stairs. He's one of those folks.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's do it.
So I did 48. This is the resolution 5. That's 7. I'm thinking based on what we have for in the pipeline, we can actually move more. So we just get worker than from you, right?
So if anything happens, take notes. So Michael's gonna do that really quick. It's gonna be a quick, easy fix on his end, and then he'll have it back to us. And we'll shoot that out to you in email, that way you can see it and we can approve it, if that's good. Just as far as the open discussion, I did have one thing, Matt, if it's okay, I wanted to bring up. Just as kind of a, let you know, one of the expenditures we're gonna have here is, we are going to upgrade the resource room computers in the career centers. So they are, what's it? Yeah, Tiff said horrible. I was trying to think of the nicest way to put it. We checked, and the resource room computers, the newest resource room computers in any of the career centers right now were last updated in 2014. So they're rough. And, as we roll out and as we're kind of reconfiguring things, we want to do that with our best foot forward. So it's going to cost, Jeremy was able to find us a great deal. We're going to do the all-in-ones. So you've got your kind of your CPUs behind your monitor. Those are very easy to use, easy to navigate. That way you just have basically a keyboard and a mouse. He found one place we can get 13 of them, the HPs on Amazon for like $5,500. That's delivery and everything. And then the others we can pick up to finish that out. We definitely have the money there to do it.
Does that include the licensing you need for like operating systems or any of the software you need?
No, that's just the hardware. That's just the computers.
Okay.
I don't believe.
But we already have.
We already have the license for the Microsoft. Because these would just be the resource room computers, so all they would have on them is that they're set up very basic. Very, very basic.
Just updating the equipment, he's got all the other stuff.
Yeah, this is just updating the equipment. Jeremy has all the licenses, everything.
Okay, there are, coming from IT, there are different licenses sometimes where that Microsoft license gets tied to the physical machine and it doesn't carry over to another machine. So as you sort of, take away one machine and add another, it doesn't automatically mean that you get a license for that. So I would just double check as you get into your numbers.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm supportive. Is that reflected on the budget here? I know you've got some career center line, and then you've got phone computer equipment line.
Yeah, we have the phone computer equipment line. And
Okay.
we've got, I think, 25,000,
Yep. 770.
500. Yeah.
Oh,
And then
okay. So you've okay. Yeah, up there.
yeah, and also just something to keep in mind. So up at the top, you see that we've got the 540,000 that is the carryover, and at the bottom, we've got 455,000 that we're planning on reserving. So, if we have to move some of that 455 reserve money up to pay for that, you're talking tops $7,000 or $8,000, and it's something we have to have. It's an investment that has to be there. So, we also have some potential savings that's going to hit the grants this year. So, for example, I think Stacy's just about got the dislocated worker grant that we're going to be applying for the BGCAP project, for example. And within that grant, it will cover portions of staff salary. So that's actually going to free up some funds, that normally we would be paying for directly out of this budget. So we're going to, have a little bit of cost savings there, because if we get that dislocated worker grant, for example, it'll pay 30% of one of the staff, 15% of a couple of other staff. Altogether, it was over $100,000. So we're going to be saving some more money on top of what we're already saving.
And
We're
not
trying to do everything we can to
no.
cut back.
So it's always a little bit of a struggle for me too. Is we look at what's the least expensive, and I just want to. You guys do good work. You guys make good decisions, and I apologize that my role is just to challenge that and sound condescending. That's not my intent, but as you look at the computers, even though those are the cheapest, are those the right ones that are going to last you? Like if I could spend a little more and last a couple years longer, like could I do that? Is
Yes.
it
So
is it as
they're
mobile
not
as
the
you
cheapest
need?
computers. They're not the cheapest computers. They're the cheapest price on the computers we need. Let me rephrase that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not the cheapest computer. It's the computer that we need as far as memory, as far as all the specs. This was the best price
Yeah.
on that particular computer.
Great, because that's where I was headed with
Yeah.
you guys are doing some things with like virtual reality. Can the computer keep up? If we want to extend some of the training programs. Okay, so it's not that you're getting like the cheapest Chromebook out there. It's
Correct.
yeah.
We're not getting the cheapest computer. We're getting the best price on the computer we need. The cheapest
Okay.
price, not the cheapest computer.
And how does it work here with the computers? So you're looking on Amazon, which implies to me that there's not some sort of package support or warranty deal with those potentially. Are you looking at extending that warranty, or um, is there an
I believe
opportunity,
these
or
do.
can Jeremy fix the thing if you need
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, and because of course we have our internal IT staff here, so if there's any issues with like that, Jeremy can always take care of that. But these will come with a warranty, and I'll have more information for that as we get closer.
Okay.
But this is just
All right.
something that we're looking to do because, for example, in the Lexington Career Center this week, we had a computer that was updating. It took 4 hours for the computer just to update.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be used. And that's actually one of the better computers we have. The ones in Danville, I'm pretty sure there's a floppy disk slot in the front of it. They're bad.
Windows 95.
Yeah, no,
Some of them actually-
again, I'm all supportive, and I know that we have to do a lot of things around trying to make sure the people that we're helping are able to have current capabilities around
Yes.
computer skills and whatnot. And if they're using something that's several Windows versions before, that's challenging. So
Well, and it's challenging, especially with like the Lexington Career Center, we have the state moving in with us, and then now that we're kind of past COVID, we're getting people back into the career centers. We're getting more people to come to career centers. We want to make a good image, facing forward. We want the public to come in and be able to know that, hey, if I come to career center, there's going to be reliable equipment there that I can use. And in some of the career centers, we have 4 and 5 resource room computers, but on some days only 1 or 2 of them are actually working. And that's very frustrating when customers come in and they're having to wait in line to do a resume, or they're having to wait in line to do labor market information. And that's something we need to make sure that we can take care of them efficiently and effectively. Because then if we can't do that, then that creates a burden on the one staff that Jennifer has in that building, that now they're not only trying to help one person, but talk 3 others off the ledge that are ready to walk out the door because there's not equipment. So this is really just gonna help smooth out operations for us, and it's a minimal financial impact.
What's in Richmond, we anticipate that
Yeah.
Bluegrass Army Depot will be doing resumes on Fridays.
Correct. And Rolly just brought up, in Richmond, for example, with the BGCAP project, once this really starts kicking off next month, we could have, 50 to 100 people a week come into that career center needing to use our computers. So we need to make sure that we've got things that are working and are gonna work. Cause we're probably gonna have some people from the state dropping in the Richmond Career Center because of the BGCAP project. And every Friday it's gonna be open up primarily to resume workshops for them, so.
So these computers are not just not good, they're actively against the mission that we're.
Yes, they're actively a roadblock for us right now. They are a barrier right now, so we wanna get that taken care of so we can move ahead.
But if I read the budget correctly, what it sounds like is you've already allocated for this, so you're just making it aware of what you've already done in the budget. But
Yeah,
I
just
do
letting
think
you
that
know
that's a
that's gonna
really
be,
good
you'll see a big
talking point.
expense. Yeah, it was more of just to let you all know that that's an expense that you'll be seeing on one of the financial statements the next couple of months when those get ordered. But yeah, the money's allocated, the money's there. And like I said, if we get towards the end of the year, we need to use some of that reserve funds, we can, but I don't see that being an issue at all.
No, I just think it'd be a really good discussion point, as you don't necessarily need an asterisk like you have for legal fees, but I think that that's a really good talking point as you go through it, especially with the judges and the mayors, right? To be able to say, we're benefiting your area. So here is, it's not just operating costs, just doesn't mean like overhead, right? At the BG ad, it's that this goes directly into computers and software in your career center.
Absolutely. Because like I said, our biggest concern is we just want to make sure that when people walk in the door, that we have the technology, we have the equipment, we have the resources that they can do what they need to do. And right now in some of the career centers, we just don't have it. So this will just get us on par with where we need to be. I mean, we have a leading edge workforce program. We just need to make sure that we have the technology that supports it.
Mike, John had a question.
Yes, sir.
How many total computers? Because you said 13 plus and more.
Well, we've got 4 career centers, and if you basically think of 4 computers at each career center, so probably 16.
Okay.
So we'll have to get, because the Amazon, the deal that was available through that, there were only 13 available on that deal. So we would have to get 3 more outsourced. But now here's the deal. We may go back to buy those next week and they may be gone. And if that's the case, then we'll just have to get all 16 from another vendor, but we'll get the cheapest price we can on the particular units, which, I mean, you're still talking within a probably $15 to $20 window.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's already budgeted. I just
want to make sure everybody knew.
Computers we're looking at, 16 of them.
Yeah, that's why I just wanted you to know that if you came in, there was a $6,000-7,000, expenditure next month, that's what it's for. I didn't want there to be any surprises.
Yeah, all the computers have been really outdated.
They're horrible.
Yeah, they're bad. I mean, the staff complain about them, participants complain about them. And it's just something that, like I said 2 months ago, my goal is to get everything so that now that we're rolling again, that we're doing it correctly. And when a new director comes in, that they can not have to worry with replacing 10-year-old computers, that they can just kind of hit the ground running and do some awesome things.
I think there needs to be probably a few year plan to continue to update those.
Well, now that we have a specific IT staff for workforce, that's something we can be much more cognizant of. Having Jeremy on staff really allows us to look at IT from a different perspective, not just when it breaks down, but Jeremy's looking at things more of, okay, we need to look at a 3-year replacement cycle, or we need to look at a 5-year replacement cycle. And he makes those recommendations, and he can tell us when, hey, look, this can go for a couple more years, or no, this needs to be replaced now.
Yeah, just keep that allocated in the budget continually. I'm happy with that, and we just got the email, if you guys got the adjusted budget from Robin sent it out to us just now.
Okay. Michael needs to jog faster down the stairs.
Yeah. He takes like 3 stairs at a time anyway. Like, if he and I are usually going back and forth to meetings together, and he's all the way at the bottom, and I'm like, dude, I'm not even halfway, and I'm out of breath. And that's going downstairs. So.
That's funny. Bring this up. Yeah, the one I just got looks like it still has a $30,000 deficit.
Okay, the one that you should
Oh,
have
sorry,
received
I'm
from
sorry. It
Rob,
comes out to 284 ahead. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
284 ahead. Yeah, I thought that would be a quick fix.
And then it just makes it look better for, as Matt was saying, for all the other parties to not get, you know, that, all the questions to start flowing, so.
Yeah,
Now you
good.
get a chance to look at that, you happy with that?
Yeah, no, I think this looks good. I mean, any questions from everybody, or otherwise, we can go ahead and make a motion to approve unless there's additional challenges.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there a second?
I'll make a second. Dolly's over there, she's waving her hand too, so.
All right. Now, all in favor then, raise your hand. Any opposed?
Good to go.
Okay, that budget is approved. Anything else on open discussion? Thank you, Robin.
Yeah. We're electronic.
Yeah, print it out paper.
I think that was all I had, was just, I just wanted to give you all the update that, you'll be sending expense for the computers, but yeah, that was it.
Okay. Great. And Michael, the other place I laugh, but we could take the legal fees, right? So we'll have that line item that we won't use. So
Yeah, hopefully we never have to use those ever again.
yeah, but I think we put on there that we aren't allowed to for the last 4 or 5 years and haven't really used them. So yeah, they're there. So no, very good. All right, then I guess we're just left with a motion to adjourn. I'll let that one be Dolly's turn if you
I'll make
support
a
that.
motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Dolly.